Well, welcome. Welcome to our session on the impact of technology on the future of procurement and supply chain. And I am joined by Sopan, Shah, as well as Christophe Villan. Sopan is the Chief Procurement Officer at IHG, and Christophe is the Head of Procurement and Supply Chain Technology in procurement at Nestle. So what I want to do is explore. We want to look at the future of technology and this impact. And one of the things that we want to look at is the operating model. So when you think about supply management, we have operating models, there's organizational structures, the people, et cetera. And as we've talked about a lot of this technology over the last couple of days, what technology do you believe is going to have the biggest impact on the operating model, in what place within the operating model?
I mean, I'll start off. I think first and foremost, we've heard a lot about orchestration. And if you think about the orchestration aspects, you know, one of the things that I think has to be true, and I'm sure Christophe will share the sentiment, is it has to be aligned, all of these tools, solutions, has to be aligned to your business strategy. And once you have that right business strategy, I think there is a huge potential of how do we evolve the operating models in the next year and the year beyond, using different tools to do better orchestration, better customer service, stakeholder engagement, supplier engagement, how to be a good customer of choice. So I do think that that's probably the right area, and there's going to be new areas that, frankly, we'll be talking about here in a couple of years.
Yeah. Let me ask you on that. You know, you talk about the orchestration layer, and certainly that's been a vibe here at the conference. When you look at that, what do you think the biggest impact will be, on the organization itself from having that type of layer in there?
I think it has to be aligned to also your procurement and supply management strategy. What we often say, I mean, our mantra in our procurement organization is simpler, faster, better. Everything we do for all of our customers, all of our stakeholders. And so the biggest impact, I think, is that simplification, right? A modern UI. You've got a new Gen Z entering the workforce. And as that comes to fruition and grows in the workforce, look, we don't want people to use outdated, archaic user interfaces to do or request something or do procurement activities. So I think, technology that makes things simpler for a request is going to be a critical benefit to most enterprises.
Okay, so the creating that better experience, I'll just call it, within the group. Christophe, what are your thoughts in terms of technologies and where do you think is going to impact the operating model?
Okay, so I usually work the other way around. We always start from a business ambition, what we need to unlock for the ambition of our companies, as well as the targets we've set for the company. And then we work backward. We work backward in terms of operating model that needs to be put together, in terms of data that we need to leverage, in terms of technologies we need to use. And sometimes the best technology is not the one you initially anticipated. So we are not starting with technology. I've had some people in the company coming to see me and say, we've got a 30,000 line item spreadsheet, I want to apply machine learning. Guess what? We need millions of items, or gazillions of them. So that's the thing. And for what do you want to leverage it? So for us, the what is the most important, or the why is the most important, and then we leverage the adequate technology. Where I'm fully agreeing with Sopan is the future values across the companies that will arise, I think, is in the better orchestration of the ecosystem that we've got around. Procurement is one pivot of this ecosystem, but the ability really to integrate and orchestrate the different parts of the supply chain, like logistics, together with procurement, together with finance, is going to become more and more critical. How do we respond to a Red Sea crisis is not a procurement problem. It's a company problem. And how do we address it jointly through orchestration systems or integration layer is going to be pivotal point to drive further value for the companies.
Yeah. Now, when we were talking earlier, you highlighted another technology as we look out, and some of those technologies that may have a bigger impact on us going forward. And can you talk a little bit about that, what you think there in terms of...
No.
No? You can't do that?
Just kidding.
Certainly, we were talking a lot about it earlier.
So, yes, I think that, and you alluded to that, and the next gen is, I mean, the Gen Z people are coming into our workforce. And therefore, I think that the voice technologies, as well as the ability to have intelligent agents, and even physical, when you look at what's happening on Instagram, where you have now AI influencers, meaning digitally produced images. I think that simplifying the interaction between the human and the machine going this way, through voice interaction, is going to be one of the biggest levers for embracing what's going to come next in terms of capabilities. We're not looking at tomorrow, but it's going to come.
Yeah. And Sopan, you have a perspective on this autonomy that we're talking a bit about when it comes to the space.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, our industry is a people industry, right? We provide hospitality to you. Please stay in an IHG hotel whenever you travel. Had to plug that, sorry. But when we think about hospitality and providing that service, it's about augmenting, what I like to say, human intelligence. So it's thinking about how, our people that are doing different things, whether you're someone, leading a category in a given market, or you're looking at data, having that innate curiosity to use tools, to test and learn with tools, to fail with tools. I think that's really what the magic sauce is going to be, to really, drive that augmentation of people. Because at the end of the day, oftentimes I always say it's not the technology or the processes or procurement processes that you have to train people on. It's you got to train them on the business. What are we trying to do? How are we trying to grow? How are we going to fight for share of our customers, right? And as you teach people that come into the organization about the business, I want the technology of their jobs to be as simple as possible so they can focus on learning the business and making an impact.
Yeah. One of the things that you highlighted also, going down this path of autonomy and autonomous agents within the organization, you had a perspective in terms of, because a lot of folks, I think, will sit there and say, well, how do I move in that direction if I want to start doing that? We worry about our talent. We worry about the impact on the human as we start to consider that. And you had some ideas there that I think you're actually socializing right now.
Yeah, I think, look, I said it already, you got to experiment. So one of the things that we may look at is how do we set up a team, for example, that is a digital team of agents, of AI tools that are going to work alongside, my actual procurement team, and see what are some of those categories that, frankly, are tactical or not strategic that we want to do more of. We oftentimes see a lot of tools and partners that are here at the conference, that talk about the long tail that we can optimize or the autonomous aspects of sourcing. I think applying that to a specific area of the business, a specific category, to do that testing, to do that learning, to do that proof of concept, to see what that return is going to be the right way to kind of approach it. At least that's the way I'm going to approach it as a procurement leader.
Yeah. Let me ask you, switching gears a little bit, because what you just shared is a little bit about the types of technology that we may see in this environment on a go-forward basis, and what we will be the emergence of the autonomous agents. But when we look out and in terms of the architecture of that organization, some people will say, well, today, how much of our organization, the activities that we do, are being done by human labor versus technology. And one of the things I shared earlier with both of you is that when we look at some of the top performing digital organizations, we're still pretty small when it comes to that part of the budgets that's allocated to technology, roughly 15%. Let me ask you, where are you today? And if we're sitting here having this conversation, Matthias allows us to do that in 5 years, what does that look like then?
Yeah, I would say, one, I want to answer your question slightly differently. Where we were a few years ago, just 2 or 3 years ago, is probably about 5% of my budget was on digital tools and technology and some of the infrastructure, right? Many of us, people in this room probably have legacy infrastructures, legacy software, non-SaaS software, and infrastructure in place. So it was small. But today, 15% of my budget is focused on digital tools and technology. A lot more of it is in the cloud. It's digitally enabled, and we're again trying lots of different things. Our business, we're the largest hospitality company in China. We have to have a very different technology strategy in China of how we're going to, deliver procurement and supply chain services in that market versus what we would do in the U.S. or what we would do in the in Europe. So for us, the investment has gone up, and I think now if I fast forward to the 5-year question that you asked, I think it's going to be a higher percentage. Do I think it's going to be 70, 80, 90% majority? I don't think so.
Okay.
Definitely not in 5 years.
Yeah. Christophe, what are your thoughts? And where are you today, actually, Yeah.
So we are not looking at it from a procurement, or we are looking at it rather holistically. So we integrate the platforms that are needed, the connectors that are needed, the analytics topics that are needed. So we don't focus on a specific silos. To give you an idea, Nestle is spending around 1.9% of its total sales in IT every year. So that sounds a bit lower, but just to put it a bit in perspective, we are investing around 1.5 billion every year in IT. So that allows us really to, have a big machine going fast, obviously. Now, this said, what we can observe is that over the past year, I would say, we've seen an increase in the relevance of what we call operations or supply chain and procurement capabilities, and interest from our management into investing into those. The reason being that for us, that's a way to gain efficiencies and fuel our growth. So that's the way we approach it. And that's why, if you consider that we've got around 170,000 people within operations, so therefore supply chain procurement, out of 270,000 people, you can make a true difference by addressing the capabilities there. So, and to come back to what we see coming next, we have a plan to really accelerate this journey over the next 5 years.
Yeah.
And they are quite ambitious. Just for you to understand the ambition that we have across operations within Nestle, we will be investing more in operations than we do in marketing and sales digital capabilities. So that's a true, I would say, paradigm shift that we are operating in order to fuel the growth, in order to reinvest in PFME or marketing expenses. So that's the kind of thing that we are doing.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. If we're sitting here, I don't know, I know within the next 5 years you mentioned, 50-50 kind of thing. Is there a time where autonomous procurement really takes over from what we're doing today as individuals?
Hopefully not until I retire. But I mean, it really, I think, again, it's going to be an augmentation. And honestly, I'm struggling with coming up with the answer because I don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, I think, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, a lot of the partners and here at DPW didn't exist. They were not even thought up. They weren't even an idea. They didn't have funding. They didn't have a team. So I think there is going to be just rapid amount of innovation still that is fundamentally going to change the supply chain function, across the world. I don't think we know what that is yet.
Yeah.
And could it be fully automated, fully autonomous, and we all sit on a beach somewhere and a bot does everything we do today? I don't know. I'm struggling with imagining it today.
Yeah. How about you?
I would tend to say that, yes, some pieces are going to be fully automated.
Yeah.
autonomous and automated.
Yeah.
For me, there's no point of having, for example, a tactical buyer running 3 bids on known suppliers, choosing the cheapest one and the most ESG efficient. A machine can do it.
Yeah.
There's not much of an added value there. Nevertheless, and we see that, for example, in the 10X session that I had earlier on, when we go into new areas, like initially we had research analysts defining a price of a commodity, and now we have machine learning and prescriptive models enabling this, we see a shift in or displacement in the role of the procurement person. The role is evolving. And as I was mentioning before, it's not about replacing the human, it's about augmenting certain capabilities, and in some cases, yes, removing certain capabilities, but creating new ones. I mean, digital marketers were not existing 10 years ago. Now, within procurement, you're going to have people defining the criteria that the algorithms will need to use to better predict the price. You will have to have people focusing on data accuracy, data availability, which is not a prime focus today. And that's the thing that will be evolving. And one of the core pieces, and I think we discussed that a bit, is how do we have our workforce embrace the change, and therefore change management and mindset shift is critical. And this is going to be the biggest challenge going forward, because technology will come.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to embrace it. How it's going to end up, we'll see. But the reality is that we're going to have new jobs, we're going to have redundant jobs, and we're going to have evolving ones.
Yeah. I want to share the results. On the way in here, I was able to take a snapshot of the board that was out there that some of you may have voted on with all the stickers, et cetera. And one of the questions on there was, how likely is it that procurement will disappear as a standalone function, the question I just asked, within the next 10 years? Now, so it had a time limit on it, and what you saw there, and sort of crowdsourced answer, most people said very unlikely. But there was actually one dot all the way to the right, only one that said very likely. But I think what we're seeing across there, what you're envisioning is more of this this co-pilot kind of environment, enablement kind of environment going forward. We may have a mixed environment of agents and our own folks. The other question we asked, and I want to get your perspective, we asked folks, and that is, how comfortable are you with the ideas of AI replacing human judgment in high-stakes procurement decisions? Now, this wasn't as definitive. Most folks, all this, stickers were concentrated in the middle, but a little bit that people were a little bit more comfortable with it. And does that surprise you?
It doesn't surprise me. I think fundamentally, if you think about the high-stakes human judgment, I keep coming back to the starting place is the tactical, low added value things that you want to use technology to automate and simplify all of our lives. I think we're going to get into, across many different industries, not just supply management and procurement, but in many industries, get to more and more revolution of autonomous technologies taking hold. In fact, Elon's showing off the robo-taxi tonight at, I think, 7 o'clock Pacific time, while we're all going to be partying, apparently. And if you think about those industries where it's people's lives in a car or in an airplane, or or how we do marketing, or how do we reach customers, I think there's just rapid innovation taking place at an exponential pace. And I personally think that in our world, we're going to continue to see that evolution, but I think it's going to take time to get there, because we're going to have to prove the business case. And at the end of the day, as Christophe said and I said earlier, does it add business value? Does it drive growth? If it doesn't do those things, it's just a fancy, shiny object that you're chasing, in my opinion.
Yeah. The other question, and just going along with this, is not just around the replacement, but really looking at if we as professionals continue within the function, and we have the future that you both are highlighting as we look future, what is the impact or the skills that we need as individuals? So let me share with you, and Christophe, I want to get your perspective on this. So the results from the sticker board out there, we asked 4 different skills: data analytics and AI proficiency, risk management, ESG, compliance, and finance fluency. Now, it was all to the left, meaning that the skills that the rest of the folks all sort of felt that we needed to excel at looking forward were all around data, risk, and ESG, not as much on finance fluency. And Christophe, does that surprise you, and does that align with what you think?
It does surprise me a bit.
Okay.
Yes, we need to have a better understanding about how we contribute to the planet's greatness at the end of the day, and how to answer to those regulations. Yes, we need to understand a bit better what a technology should help us driving for the business. But let's not forget one thing, is if you are not able to articulate why your spend that you negotiated is irrelevant for the margin profit or the OP1 of a company, you're losing track of why you are here. And the advantage of those technologies, and I was going back to your point earlier on, about do you trust AI to take the strategic decisions? People are still fine, or starting to be fine, giving their life and putting it into the hands of the algorithm in a car. And yet, we are asking ourselves if they can take a decision about should I buy this or not. I think that we need to come back and match the two words, okay? And I think that getting an understanding of what we want to do with AI and not especially be an algorithm expert in procurement, because that won't serve, and that we have people focusing on that, but also understanding how we contribute to the company. And we also contribute in procurement through financial means. So I'd be extremely careful to say, let's take out finance of the equation, because you're impacting in inventory and therefore working capital of your company. You're going to be impacting cost. In many companies, cost is 70% of your total turnover. If at one stage you're deciding to say, you know what, I'll leave it aside, you're going to have some problem. So I think that, yes, there's going to be an evolution in skills matrix, but not that drastic as you could see here.
Okay. I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I got a quick question here around digital technology as we're looking forward. I'm going to ask for a quick answer here, just a perspective. But one of the things that, why we invest in technology, we're always looking, how do we create a competitive advantage for our business? It's not about us. It's about, how do we enable that business? But a perspective is, if we all have access to the same technology, how do we create that advantage?
I think if the technology is an equalizer, and we do all have access to it, I think it's giving people the space to innovate, to trial, to fail, to learn. And I think that's going to be the differentiator in which companies, which cultures enable that mindset to come to life. Because you're right, we all can go buy all of this stuff at the same time, but as leaders or practitioners, the ability to try those things is the willingness and the mindset that drives all of this.
Christophe?
I would say people, that's very clear, because they need to embrace the change, and data foundations.
Yep.
You can have the best AI in the world if you don't have the right data foundations, meaning accuracy, availability, and leverage capabilities. Forget about this journey. So go to the basics, get the foundations right, and then leverage it for your company. That's how you can be better than someone else buying the same AI.
I think you answered my last question, too, because
Okay.
I was going to ask you, what do you want to leave everybody with? And I'm going to let you leave them with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Or you got something else?
One more.
The future is bright.
The future is bright.
We'll end there. I agree.
All righty.
There we go.
Well, thank you, and appreciate all the insights on the future of technology. You could stand here like another 30 minutes, but thank you, and thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks.